Welcome to the Mo Show Live, everybody. Hey, this is More Slowly and Thaw. We've got a really important show today for you. We're going to be talking about a upcoming movie, an independent film that's been shot here in the North Alabama area. And this film really touches on a lot of hot buttoning, important topics that some of which have come to light in the last couple of years. But I think there needs to be more attention to these issues. These are issues that are facing our veterans. Many of our veterans suffer from homelessness. They have problems with access to health care, medical issues such as PTSD, problems with addiction. These are things that are affecting a lot of the people that are some of the most important people in our communities, and there's not enough being done. And this movie follows and tracks a veteran and his story that impacts a lot of the same issues that we just got through talking about. So excited to have as our guest today, Tim Reischauer, the director of this movie. And we're going to be talking to Tim about the movie Only Easy Day and the inspiration behind this movie, the storyline behind this movie, and some of the issues that the character in the movie faces and how those actually are real life issues that a lot of veterans are facing. So without further ado, let me introduce our guest, Tim Reischauer. Tim has over 20 years experience in the movie and entertainment industry as a director, a producer, and an editor. It's my understanding, Tim, that in the last year or so, you've recently moved from LA to the Huntsville, Alabama area. And now for most people in Alabama, Tim, I got to tell you that LA means Lower Alabama. But I think for you, that means actually Los Angeles. And I'm sure there's no dramatic difference between moving from Los Angeles and Huntsville. Like waking
Not
up
at all. It's so similar. I didn't even know that I had moved here.
I bet.
Except for the highways.
Yes. Well, hey, we got to love our traffic, which is no traffic, I've got to imagine, compared to out there. But Tim, I want to thank you today for taking some time out of your busy schedule. I know you guys are right in the middle of wrapping up the shooting and maybe starting the post-production stuff. So I appreciate you coming today to talk about the movie and to talk about the passion and impetus behind the movie. And before we kind of get started, folks, if you're watching, please, we really want to highlight not only the movie, and we want you to go out and watch this movie once it's released, but we want to highlight the inspiration behind the movie, these issues that are out there. So if you can like and share the show, if you've got questions about the film or some of the issues that are involved, please put them in the comments. I'll be watching here on another screen to see if you've got questions or comments for Tim about the movie or the issues it addressed, and I'll bring them up and let Tim address those. But Tim, kind of tell us a little bit, give people that haven't heard, maybe that are outside the Huntsville area that may not have heard about this movie, a little bit of an overview of the movie and the inspiration behind the movie.
All right. Well, way before I got on board, there were some folks actually through leadership through here in Huntsville had a project that they're trying to do as a group, and they came up with the idea to go homeless undercover. Isaiah Williams was the one that directed it and shot it, and then later on Brett Jones, who is one of the subjects that went undercover, decided to write, that inspired him to write the story and come up with a script for Only Easy Day. Those experiences kind of propelled him to say, you know what, I'm sorry, and the documentary that they ended up doing from this project was called Homelessness in Huntsville. And I don't know if some of you have seen it, but it was very powerful in how they were tracking these. And one of them was also a professor at UAH. And Brett is what his connection was. He owns a company called Riley Security. So the two of those gentlemen went out undercover, being shot very quietly by Isaiah, and they went out and shot this video. And Brett and Isaiah went back and said, why don't we make this into a narrative piece, give the characters a little more life, a little more breathing room to kind of go over all the different things in their lives that caused them to become homeless. And the writer is an actual Navy SEAL. Brett is a former Navy SEAL, not former, I guess there's never a former, but is a Navy SEAL, and he brought a lot of his own life into this project, as well as his experiences with homeless in Huntsville.
Well, I can tell you that I have had the pleasure of seeing that film, and Brett and I forget the gentleman, the professor at UAH, came out some time ago to my Rotary Club in Madison and kind of presented about the problem and the issue that a lot of times people in our community don't realize that there is a homelessness issue in the Huntsville area. And if you haven't seen that, I think you can find it on YouTube, folks. It is a great, and I think it's 20 to 30 minutes, somewhere in that time frame documentary, that it's just marvelously done, and it really highlights the problem that's out there that may be really right under our. I wanted to kind of give. I know that's not what we're here talking about, but I know that kind of sprung into it.
It gives the script origins, and it talks a lot about what's going on in Huntsville. Now, flash forward, we have not set this movie in any particular city. We wanted to make this movie, this film, a little more universal and give it a more broad appeal in the fact that when we see someone homeless on the street, everybody has a story. Everybody has, whether it's mental illness or financial times or a combination of both. And a lot of times folks begin to self-medicate and are not taken care of in the way that we would hope that we would embrace our homeless community. But this is kind of a slice of life. The lead character just happens to be a veteran, a former Navy SEAL, someone that has a family, has a son. Some tragic things happen in his life that propel him well beyond the PTSD that he has. And so we see this arc of this person of how he goes and ends up on the street. And if you think, if it could happen to a guy that apparently has it together, that brings a lot more humanity to the problem that we have on our street. And moving from Los Angeles, it was something that I saw on a daily, if not hourly basis. So I know it's a very strong story.
Well, it's a very real story, and again, I'm looking forward to watching the movie once it's finally done and put out there. But I know a lot of the issues that I've seen in some of the materials that you guys have put out, and the promo, for example, that's put out. I think that the lead into the promo of the film talks about that on average, I think every night, correct me if I'm wrong, but on average every night there are 50,000 homeless veterans in the U.S. That's striking to think that these people were, skilled enough, sharp enough mentally, physically to suit up and represent our country and protect our country. And now they don't even have a place to put their head. And that's very sad and very scary. And I think we've all heard a lot of the issues with the Veterans Administration and VA healthcare and the problems that a lot of our veterans are having in today's times with getting access to healthcare or getting access to prompt healthcare where they may be, basically.
That's the issue. Yeah. I mean, that's the issue. It's the prompt and ready healthcare that we take for granted as Americans that should be almost assumed for someone that serves our country.
No doubt. And I think, the interesting thing that I think that I wanted to kind of touch on that is that what applies, the issues that this film touches on applies across party lines. I mean, I don't care whether you're a Republican and you're right wing or you're liberal and you're Democrat. I think that a lot of the issues that I think maybe had to accomplish those goals may be a little different. Yeah. But I think everybody can agree that our veterans should have access to health care. Our veterans should have ways to help them find places for homes and supplements and things that can do to provide them where they're not sleeping on the streets if they've served our country.
Right.
And I think that across party lines.
And I want to also touch on, there's a component there with all of homelessness in general, but more specifically with the veteran community, is that these men and women have seen atrocities that most other folks have not seen, and a lot of how they cope and their coping mechanism is to self-medicate. and which we all know can lead to, drinking or opioids or even worse. And this
Right.
movie actually touches on a lot of that, of how someone can slide from alcohol abuse to then doing, prescription drugs, and then they go into even worse,
Yeah.
they spiral out of control. And and this is a situation that hits a lot of folks that come back from Iraq or Afghanistan or even more distant Korea and Vietnam. They're still dealing with that turmoil. And what do we do as a country to not only take care of the ones that have not been affected by that, but and in general, the homeless community, we as a society have a responsibility to take care of these folks,
Right. Right.
and this movie, the lead character has some people in his life that help him, but he doesn't want that help, and that
Mhm.
happens so often because either the soldier is too proud, or they don't have the right family connections to get him through what otherwise would have been just another trip to a psychiatrist.
Right. Right. Real quick, Tim, I want to thank Braden Ledbetter, Margaret Martin, and Patrick Green, among others that are watching and doing. Guys, if you've got questions or comments or want to know something, just let me know. We'll put them in the comments, and we'll try to address those as we continue our discussion here. Tim, talk a little bit about, I guess the authenticity of the film, and what I think I gather from talking to you about this, and your passion behind it and Brent's passion behind it and others, is that you wanted this to be realistic, and that this is not, and I'm sure it's, there are things, ways to make it a better film to watch and to digest, but the issues that you address, the things that are going on in this character's life are real. That these are things that Brett and other veterans have seen in their fellow soldiers over and over again. I mean, is that
Mhm.
fair?
Yes, I think I want to be very clear that this is a narrative. It's a dramatization, but we have tried to remain as close to realistic as we can. We're The main character has a real family, and there are real problems that come with, financial problems that many of us suffer from. You know, there are things that go with what type of work that is necessary to make things happen in your life. Um, so as far as we wanted to take the idea of the documentary, but give it life. So you're
Mm-hmm.
basically following through kind of an isolation through isolation. This main character obviously has a family, and there's going to be more interaction with that. But there are people that he meets at the homeless shelter. There are people that he meets on the street. Some that are a little unsavory, that kind of send him down yet another path. There are people that help him down the road that were not part of his life. So there's a sense um, of a spiral out of control, but there's also a sense of redemption. And I think that we have to show, whether it's dramatized or not, show a way that, okay, this person was down, I mean, really down, but there's still hope, and there's still a way to find redemption, whether that's, you know, with a family member being supportive, or a group that's been set aside to help veterans or homeless people in general.
Right.
So, I mean, it really is a dramatization of how you would see someone like that, and then it's an independent feature film, and it's a lot more independent than most. We are not connected with any studio. We have some financial backing, but it's very minimal. But we've done, I think, with this team of filmmakers here in Huntsville, we've done a tremendous amount uh, good work so far. Now the tough part is you mentioned earlier that we're now in the post-production phase. So they say a movie has three lives. One is the script, one is the shooting of the film, and the other one is post-production. So we have no idea what's going to come out of this third phase, but we're very happy about the first two, and we think that we have a very solid film. And we hope it's commercial enough so that we are able to get it into venues and to into people's homes so that they can see a little bit about, they might look at somebody a little differently on the street and think, where was he 5 years ago? Where was he 10 years ago? Where was she, when the war broke out? Where were all of these folks? Whether they're veterans or not, we're going to maybe look at the homeless population a little differently, and maybe help with finding a more focused attempt at rectifying the situation.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to say hello to Dennis Sanders, Charlie Moorhead, Joseph Scott. Joseph said, can't wait to see the film. And
Joseph was a character in the film.
okay, good deal. But I think what resonates with me there is the hope. And the other thing that resonates with me, Tim, is that, when especially if you're a veteran and you've served and you've seen a lot of things, you're just one or two steps away from maybe falling down. That it's something that one or two bad breaks, and then all of a sudden you could hit that slippery slope that it sounds like the character in your film hits.
Right.
And that can be true in everyday life. I mean, you could have, a storm could come through and you could lose your home and then lose your job, and then all of a sudden you find yourself to be homeless. But I think it's good for us to reflect that, just because you see someone, not to judge them on their appearance or judge them based upon the fact that they may be, standing under a bridge or at a shelter or something, that there may be something there. And, with
Exactly.
with a little help, that person may be able to get back on their feet and do great, great things. Talk to us real quick. I'd love to get a little bit more, just for my curiosity's sake. So the film was shot here in the North Alabama area, and what about the actors and things? Where is everybody from for the most part that's participating in the film?
I think I was able to tap into every actor in Northern Alabama, or at least been able to see them. And we had some fun casting things going on, but there are 35 characters in this film, and so we got to use quite a few folks, and everybody did a great job. Very happy. But yes, we used local talent. We had a couple of crew members from surrounding areas, somebody from Nashville, someone from Birmingham, and someone from Muscle Shoals. But outside of that, just about everybody. And we had a great production assistant crew that was rotating. Some would work some days, but they all gave it their all, and it was a tremendous effort. And compared to some of the bigger productions I've been on, where I have 50 or 60 people on the set at a time, this production generally had anywhere between 10 and 12 crew members total on the set at any one time. So we were all wearing a lot of different hats.
One thing I'll mention here, one of our viewers, it sounds like he was involved in the film, Brown Alex, said to not forget to mention a number of the vets on the cast and crew, that y'all had some veterans that were working on the film as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. We had folks that were connected to this film way before we started shooting, and we've had some great consultants, and he is actually one of them. Yes, it was definitely a well thought out, well formed. I've worked on cop shows before, and I know we've always had somebody on set that was the guy that
expert,
that was the quality control guy, to make sure we didn't look so asinine in how they held the gun, or what these actors are looking at least a little bit authentic. We all did our research, and we're able to kind of hone in on what it was like. We actually were able to make a little piece of of Madison County look like Iraq. So I'll be real interested when we get that all edited and cut to have that in the film. We
Yeah.
were not sure if we were going to be able to do anything, but um, we had a great special effects guy. We got some firepower out there, and we were able to make a pretty good replication of. And we had a couple of people on set that were there, so they were giving us a lot of guidance as to what that was going to look like.
Well, I'm really excited to see that and giving it that as best you can and with an independent film type of background, the authenticity and having those veterans on staff and cast and crew, I'm sure was invaluable for you as the director of the movie. Um, so what do you guys hope to accomplish? I mean, do you kind of have, other than making a good film and hopefully maybe it being picked up and being seen by more people, but there kind of an undertone or goal that the crew and cast and everybody really wanted to shine a light on? Is it kind of the issues that we've been talking about? Is that really what you're hoping to do?
It really is a passion project for many of us. Uh, even even some of the folks that we brought in from other places to help us out, they got the film. They understood what we're trying to do in this push. In this, we shot a film that probably should have taken us much longer. We did it in 16 days. We did it on we had some wonderful locations donated. The one I was talking about out in Madison, we had this wonderful we've had a homeless church here in Huntsville donate their time, a restaurant here, Purveyor, a Grateful Life Church. We've had some wonderful locations. That in itself would have cost us probably as much as 3 or 4 times our budget alone just to get the locations. And they were kind enough and loving enough to understand our passion in this. Now, what do we want to do with it is first of all, create a really good film. And I won't back off by saying I would love for it to be commercial, because with commercial becomes access to be able to do more with it, and to be able to create a momentum with it that if it's just a film that we all keep on our shelves and bring out every couple of years to look at it and say, oh, look what we did. We didn't really achieve our goal. So we want to make it so maybe a Netflix or an Amazon picks it up. We do want to enter it into film festivals like this past weekend. There was the Southern Fried Film Festival that did very well in their first year, and I know that that festival had a lot of very meaningful, kind of very emotional driven movies in it, and we hope to be in that next year, and among maybe 40 or 50 other ones, including Sundance and Tribeca and ones like that. So we have very lofty aspirations for this film, and but the core of it, the heart and soul of it, is really to kind of bring light to what we've been talking about so far.
Yeah. Folks, if you're just joining us, our guest today on the Mo Show Live is Tim Reischauer, and he's the director of the movie Only Easy Day that's just wrapped up shooting and getting ready, I guess, to do the editing part of the film. And if you haven't watched the beginning, please go back and do. But the film highlights the story, main character, a veteran who's got a family and is going through a lot of issues that many of our veterans face with homelessness. I imagine some addiction issues and PTSD issues. And the story tracks his fall, and then I think has kind of a redeeming quality at the end and kind of some hope at the end. And so really wanting to highlight the film. Please like and share the show to help highlight and share the film and get the word out about this film, and get some excitement built up about it as it grows in the editing process, and highlight these issues. These issues, especially here, Tim, in Huntsville, where we have so many military people, and we're so proud to be a military community, that there are probably many people that maybe don't go as far as the depth of being homeless that maybe the character does, but they suffer through some of these issues that maybe they're embarrassed to talk about, or they're too proud to talk about. that if we would show that it's becoming more accepting in our society to be able, if you're a veteran, to come out and say, I'm having some of these issues and I need some help.
Yeah, I in conversations in just going to my kids' baseball games and meeting folks that I've never met before, that I talk a little bit about the movie, and it gets let out that they're actually suffering from PTSD, and they are very interested in what we're going to do with this. So I mean, that's a portion of the film. It's not the whole film. It's not about that, but we are. I think we're going to serve that greater purpose.
Yeah. So as we kind of wrap up, and I want to be kind of cognizant of your time here. So now I guess the next part of the process is your post-production, and you guys are going to be editing the film and kind of cutting it down into the final version there. And how long does that take?
Well, as in pre-production and production and post-production, it is all predicated on the amount of money that we can raise. And we were able to raise enough to shoot the movie, and we're still looking for we have room for more investors if anybody is interested in becoming part of the film. But yes, the timeline is, we need to edit it. Then we need to have a composer, have our composer, take a run at it, and then I go over it with kind of shave down what's needed or add stuff where it's needed, and then we do dialogue editing and sound editing, and there's a fair amount of work that goes into making a film that we can show in a theater.
Yeah.
So we're moving in that direction. We're taking about a week or two to kind of take a breath and get some perspective, and then we're going to jump on it right away.
And as I understand, Tim, that some of the proceeds from the film, or some of the money that you've raised, some of those proceeds are going to be charities, and I think that's a great thing. Yeah,
we had an Indiegogo page, and part of our pledge on that page was that we were going to give 10% back to whatever we raised on that page. We're going to give back to veterans groups and/or homeless veterans groups, folks that really are advocates for the cause.
That's fantastic. Is there an anticipated? I know there may not be a final date yet, but is there an anticipated release date of the film?
Well, I'd like to get this up and out as quickly as possible, but I think my end would be Veterans Day this year.
Yeah. Well,
if we can get it out by earlier than that, I'd be tickled to death. But that's what I'm shooting for, no later than Veterans Day.
Well, it would be a great time of the year, obviously, to put it in perspective and do. But Tim, how can people? I think you guys have a Facebook page and the Only Easy Day Facebook page, and then so we'll tag that here in the video once we're done. I'll put it in the comments so people want to track. I assume you guys will be putting comments about what's going on and where you are in the post-production process, and where people can ultimately find the movie there. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the best place to we'll keep updates every week probably to see where things are. And if you like us and follow us, we will definitely keep everybody abreast of what's happening. We are, it's going to be a little slower now, but we probably will share pictures from behind the scenes. I think that will be fun for people to kind of follow. We've got some funny ones. But all in all, we have some, we'll be keeping everybody abreast of what's going on.
Well, that's great. I want to thank you for your time. I'm really excited to watch the final product and to watch the storyline and understand the inspiration behind the movie is one that I think, again, as I said earlier, that everybody, regardless of your political affiliation or your background, that I think we can all relate to, and that these are issues that in the general homeless,
they don't have a party.
They don't, and they need to be addressed in our community, and we just need to come together to address them. And we need to be more open, that when we see somebody in our community that may be down on their luck for whatever reason, veteran or not, that we may need to be understanding there's some hope there for them if they can just catch a break, and maybe if you can help them out a little bit.
Yeah, that I think you're dead on. You're dead on.
Wow.
And having veterans work on the film, and we'll be involving more groups as we move forward. So we look
Well,
forward to that.
I'm excited. I really appreciate you and everybody involved with the film reaching out and allowing me to take time today to during this kind of little break you've got here before you kick back into overdrive and doing it. So folks, please kind of follow the Only Easy Day movie page. Again, I'm going to tag it, follow along with what's going on. Share this video out so we can get the word out about this movie and get some more excitement built up about it. I know that I've talked to others that have already heard about it, but we want to grow that so we can make this film as big and as great as we can, and to spread the messages that are underlined throughout the movie. Tim, thanks so much for your time, and I wish you guys the best of luck with it.
Thank you, Morris. Have a good
Thanks,
day.
guys. All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.